another Find a Way podcast. Today we got a special guest with my guy, the great Jeff Linder. Linder, what's up, man?
Buff?
We appreciate you joining us today, man.
It's good to be here.
This is my dude right here, second funniest guy in the office behind me, of course. All right, so we want to talk with Linder today, man. Been a head coach, very successful head coach. Tell me why Texas Tech? At this point in your career, what was it about this place and the people here where you was like, man, I'll give it a run at Tech with GMAC?
Well, I mean, obviously, first and foremost, I mean, the relationship that I had with Coach, which goes back to 2002-03 when he was living in the dorms in Northeastern Junior College in Sterling, Colorado, and I was living in Emporia, Kansas, coaching at Emporia State University, and the relationship that we developed from me recruiting some of the guys at Northeastern Junior College, and then lo and behold, in 2003-04, he goes to Midland Junior College with Shannon Hayes, and they go to the NJCAA semifinals that year. And so then Shannon leaves, gets the assistant job at Houston. He gets the head job. Still remember him calling me probably about 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night and said, "Hey, you want to come down and do this?" And I just remember sitting there and not even asking my wife, which probably would have been a wise move at the time because she was, I think with our first, she was about 6 months pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I'm in. And she looked at me like, what are we in for? And so, so lo and behold, decided to go to Midland with Coach. I was 2004 to 2006. I mean, during that time, and there was a lot of, that's when junior college basketball was at its heyday. And
really good players.
The WAC-JAC Region 9, best junior college conference in the country at the time. Howard had Coach Adams. You had Steve Green at South Plains, Lou Godino at Frank Phillips. You just had a lot. Dennis Helms at Odessa Junior College. Yeah. You just had a lot of really good coaches, a lot of really good players. And obviously at that time, the both of us were probably 25 years old, 26 years old. And obviously we acted like we knew what we were doing. But at the same time, you look back on it, you're not sure. But but what you realize early on, which learned from Ricardo Patton, who I started out my college coaching career when I was at the University of Colorado. I remember him telling me, we don't need tricky plays.
No doubt.
We need tricky players.
No doubt.
And that's the one thing that obviously as my career as an assistant head coach, first and foremost, some people kind of see the X's and O's part, but I've always understood the importance of, you're only as good as your players, and you better have really good players. And I think that's something that Coach and I certainly can find a common ground. And we're very similar in terms of how we think.
Absolutely.
How we see things. And so obviously, a lot of things have changed in college basketball over the last couple of years.
A lot.
Was in a situation at Wyoming where, I loved living there. Obviously, when I took the job, I knew it was going to be a hard job just based off of location and the history of things. But once NIL and transfer portal came around, I knew it was going to be a really hard job. And so when that opportunity came where, we had talked about it.
Yep.
We actually had talked about it a year before, and was like, you know what, let's just kind of play this thing out a little bit, see what happens. And then just kind of things worked itself out. And as I said before too, that was going to be the only situation coming to Tech, working for him, would have been the only situation that I would have left a Division I head coaching job for, especially at that level. And I think the biggest thing was knowing that how hard this is.
Yes.
And the day-to-day grind, which is you witness now being on this end of it, and really what it is, it's too hard to where you're really, truly, can't really compete to win it all, to win your league based off your resources, to be able to compete for a national championship. And so obviously the relationship with Coach, and then you add the fact that Tech's been at the forefront in the new age of what college athletics has become, and to really truly have the opportunity to compete for a national championship. I just felt like it was just the right place at the right time for not just myself, but for my family.
Yep.
And obviously there's always it's when you step back to being an assistant, but I also was an assistant for 16 years before I was a head coach for 8 years. And so it took a little bit of time just to kind of get the ebb and flow and the feel of things. And obviously, luckily for me, with Coach and giving me the freedom to do what I do, and And that's not easy for a head coach
No doubt.
and especially one that's been as successful as he has to, kind of go away from kind of what he's comfortable with in terms of the offense, and because that's something that he's always done.
Yep.
And so for him to kind of give those up to me, obviously that's a big step. And so obviously early on we kind of had a filling out process with that, trying to figure that out. But I think as the season went on, we got a good grasp of it, and it turned out to be really good. But all in all, I think just the fact that you're at a place where not just from an administration standpoint, they get it, donors, the fan base. I mean, the fact that when you walk into the USA and you see the place as electric as it is. I mean, George Karl once came to one of my practices when I was at Wyoming, and he said something that really stuck with me, that in order to be a championship team, you have to have a championship crowd. And over the course of the season, there's going to be 2 or 3 games where when you have that electricity in the building, the energy in the building, that might be the difference between you winning a 1 or 2 possession game. And so the energy of the USA, I mean, walking into that, I mean, it goes back to, again, it's like it's just too hard, and the work that the players put in behind the scenes, and then for them to be able to go out and walk on that floor and see the support of what it is, I mean, that goes a long, long ways.
Shout out to the USA. It's crazy, man, because almost 20 years later, Mac hires me, calls me randomly the same way, and I take the job without talking to my wife first, knowing we were going. And it's great to hear you talk about, like, the grind of it, because for so long I was on the outside of it. Like, I thought I could tell schools like yours. Linder was one of the schools that took my scouting service. Never talked to Linder because he
shout out to Coach DeWeese.
No, shout out DeWeese because he could care less about a scouting service. But like, it is a grind, and on the outside looking, I tell people all the time, like, I thought I had an idea of what this was, probably better than a lot of people, but you have no idea what it takes to prepare to win a basketball game, let alone over the course of the season. And Linder is one of the more prepared people I've ever been around in this. Talk about, like, the preparation that goes into preparing to have a good game plan. Mac always talks about having a good plan. And the one thing I feel about here, we always have time to, like, create a good plan and execute a good plan.
I think first off, I mean, you can talk about game plan, but you better have a plan for your program,
No doubt,
before that starts. And I think, obviously, what coaches, one of his greatest strengths is his ability to, people, and understanding that people are what make your program. And you look at who he's hired. Obviously I was his first assistant coach back in the day at Midland, became a Division I head coach. You got Chris Mudge, Sam Houston State, who became a head coach. Ross Hodge, who's now the head coach at West Virginia. Obviously, Alvin Brooks could have probably been a head coach in some capacity if he wanted to take a job. Who knows? He might be the smartest of us all. And then let's say you got Ross, who's at West Virginia, and so and then you got Matty B, who's at Stephen F. Austin now, and so that's where I think the thing that you realize first and foremost is the people, and the people are going to make you or break you. And I think the plan or his his ability to kind of just see and understanding the cohesion and the synergy that you have to have amongst your staff first and foremost. Because if you don't have that, eventually it leaks into the players. And then ultimately, too, it goes back to the plan of, your coaching staff, but then you better have a plan in terms of who you recruit and understanding who you can coach, who you want to be around every day, and knowing the type of players that you can coach and who can really help you win games. And I think that's what's helped coach. Just the thing that he has, and he's an incredible, and now kind of been around him. I was around him when his first 2 years as a head coach, and then now, looking at how many years he's been a head coach now. But he's it's just like with anything, when you have a certain number of reps, and it's so valuable, the reps that you get as a head coach. And I think he's been, because such a young age, being a head coach and being a head coach for so many years and being in so many games, is that you develop this ability within the game to have a plan and be able to change the plan and not being stuck to a plan.
No doubt.
And I think that's the biggest thing for him. Like me and him back in the day, our first year at Midland Junior College, we had lost to Howard Junior College twice during the regular season.
Who's the coach of that Howard team?
That was Mark Adams, who had Charlie Burgess, who ended up coming here playing at Tech. They had a really good team, and we had lost to them twice in the regular season. I mean, they were really good defensively. Obviously, that's what Coach Adams' teams do really well. And then we're in the regional finals to go to Hutch, which back then there was no at-large bids to get to the NGA. So you had to win your regional. And so we're halftime, and we're probably down. I don't know what we're down, but we go, man, we got to do something different offensively. I mean, if we're going to win this game. And so at halftime, we're like, man, we got to scrap what we've been doing all season long, and we need to do this. And so not being scared, and that's the beauty, too, of coaching at the lower level, is that now you're able to kind of make some of those decisions, and even if you don't make the right decision, you're not getting the fire the next day because you decided to kind of maybe do something outside the box. But I do think his ability, and coming back and now working for him 20 years later, is that, in game, he's such a good, and sometimes people will talk about it, but he's such a good in-game coach. And that can really, like I said, you think sometimes it's just speak, and, the media will talk about it, or, the adjustments, and how many adjustments are really being made. But at the same time, like, he can see the big picture within the game and his ability to adjust in the game. I said that's the thing after coming back and working for him for so long, is that, he's such a good in-game coach. But ultimately the plan, but I do think for me, is that when you haven't been at the best job, when you're not at a place where you have the best resources or you have the ability to go get the best players, is that now you got to go win in the margins.
No doubt.
And so how do you win in the margins? Well, ultimately you got to do a really good job of identifying and recruiting the right type of players, being able to see things that nobody else can see. And then once you get them, having a plan to develop them, and then having a plan to put them in a position to play to their strengths and allowing your team to maximize their strengths. And I think that's for me, for him, is that having a coach year to year based off of who our team is and what our strengths are, and not just coaching to a system, but coaching to the strength of our players. Now each year, what we do offensively and defensively might be differently. And I think that's where now the landscape of college basketball has changed so much, where now it's a 9-month deal. And so you got to figure out a way to maximize your team in such a short period. And so you see these guys that only know one way and are stuck to one way. And I think those are the guys that are struggling a little bit right now with the current landscape, because you have a completely different team each year. And if you're coaching junior college, you have a new team each year.
What it is.
If you're coaching Division II, you're going to have a new team each year. If you're at the low major level, I mean, you're going to have to figure some things out. And so I think that's where now, leading up to the game and going back to the original question of, okay, the game plan, well, knowing that you have to win in the margins because maybe you don't have the most talent, but how do you find a way to win?
Right.
And so then now that's where you're utilizing every resource to figure out, okay, where is the advantage?
No doubt.
And so that's where, from an offensive standpoint, defensive standpoint, you go into each game figuring out, okay, well, what gives us the best chance to create an advantage offensively? How do we find a way to create a paint touch? How do we find a way to take advantage of a matchup? Why am I going to let your best defender play against my best offensive player all game long? How am I going to find a way to put two on the ball? Because ultimately that's what it is can you create paint touches, and can you create a numerical advantage offensively to put the defense to a disadvantage? And I think the same thing goes from a defensive standpoint, is how do you figure out a way to, based off of your team, knowing your team, and not being scared to say, okay, we haven't tried this before, but hey, this is what we need to do to win this game.
Right.
Because from game to game, it changes. And I think that's what, obviously, I've had to do where the places I've been. That's what coaches had to do. And so I think that's where that's allowed us to hopefully get to where we've gotten to. Because as you go back to what you were saying, like this thing, it's hard. Like, and then when you've been in it for, I've been in coaching, I've been in it for 25, going on probably year 26. He actually, I think, because he played 4 years in college, I was in 5 because I had a redshirt year, got hurt. So he has 1 year up on me. I think I'm on year 20. So this is 25, 26 season for me, starting in 2000. He's 1 year ahead of me. So he's probably going on 26 or 27. Man. But what you've seen during that time is how many people come and go. I mean, when you're on the road recruiting and you see these guys that were supposed to be good, and lo and behold, where did those guys go a few years later? This guy's supposed to be the next guy, this guy. But at the end of the day, it goes back to character and the people that you want to be around every day. And I think that's something that I've tried to do in the places that I've been, and I know that's what he does. And so at the end of the day, like, that's the thing about us, is hopefully I can help him with some of the things, knowing, having been a head coach and knowing the demands that a job like this has on the head coach, and especially now, how it's changed, is that, can I help him kind of alleviate some of those things, or make him sleep a little bit easier at night, knowing that, maybe I can handle some of those things and takes a little bit off his plate. And so that's, as assistant coach, I mean, your job is to serve. Your job is to make sure, as I always say to these young guys, like, man, don't forget now, assistant coaches have records too.
No question.
And that's what I don't think a lot of assistant coaches realize, is at the end of the day, there's a record attached to you too.
No doubt.
That's in terms of your record, in terms of what you did for your head coach. And did you allow your head coach to get a contract extension? Did you allow your head coach to get the next job?
Yes.
Because if you do that and you're focused on that, then you'll make your way ahead. But I've seen so many guys that they're just worried about getting the next job and not focus on the job that they do have. And eventually in the long run, they just get weeded out. And so the lesson is, and especially now where you have these extra positions where you got, because back in the day, to be a Division I assistant, man, like, there was,
you had to be.
I mean, you had to be a dude.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you walk into a gym and, like, when you got Kansas and Duke, and you got three assistants.
Fight.
You got three assistants and not five. Like, I mean, these dudes, I mean, you had to earn the right to be there. Where now you got these extra assistants, and it's been great because it gives other guys the opportunity to be on the floor, to be able to recruit. But at the same time, like, that sense of urgency, knowing, man, there's only 3 spots. And to get to a level where, a power 5 at the time, or power 4, like, I mean, there was just that many jobs. Like, you had to be a dude. Like, you had to find dudes.
Yeah, man.
You had to go get some dudes. And ultimately, that's your job as an assistant coach, is, can you go get dudes? And that's the thing. Like I said, people get, maybe with me, the fact that, this, offensive guy, X and O's guy, like, at the end of the day, man, I got dudes.
Facts.
Like, I was able to go find guys that nobody else thought were going to be dudes, and turned out to be dudes. And in turn, that allowed the guys that I worked for to keep their job, or enhance their job.
That's the job.
And that's the job. But a lot of guys don't understand that as an assistant coach, you got a record attached to you. And so understand that. And I don't think many guys do understand that.
And it's crazy, just the longevity, because when you hear this is year 25 for you, 26 for Mac, like, y'all aren't older dudes. So y'all was fresh out of college, like, right in the mix. But it also shows your adaptability. And because this thing is completely different than even when I started. And I started 3 years ago. So, like, it changes so much. But for you guys to have won everywhere you've been, in some places it's really hard to win, and you finally get an opportunity at a place like this, and you continue to win at that level, I think it says a lot about the work and the experiences you guys have before y'all got here.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and it goes back for me to my college coach, who, he used to always have these gems of wisdom. And rest in peace, Coach Hoffman, who passed away this a couple months ago. But he always said, the great ones adjust. And that's what it is. Like, it's every day you got to adjust.
No doubt.
I mean, some guy you thought might be ready for the practice that day doesn't practice. Maybe a guy that, in the middle of a game, JT Toppin gets a crazy technical foul and gets ejected from the game. Like, you got to adjust.
No doubt.
And that was probably for me in that game, the Houston game, which,
man, what a game.
I mean, you go back and watch, but it took me, once the theatrics were all over, having been a head coach for 8 years, but you've been sitting down for the last, how many games. And so it's a different perception when you're standing up. Like, it just gives you a different view of things. And it probably took me about 5 minutes just to kind of get back into it and really kind of get my bearings. But then it's like riding a bike. But that's where, hopefully I said the experience of having coached in a lot of games, when that opportunity came, it wasn't like, hey, like, what do I do? You're sitting down there looking, you could sit there and see Kelvin Sampson down there and be like, oh man, well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's
No
like,
doubt.
no, I don't care who's down there. We just got to
doubt.
figure out a way to win this game, and that's what we've had to do at the places we've been, because we've taken jobs where.
Man,
I mean,
tough jobs,
I mean,
man.
I took Northern Colorado when they were, who knows, we thought we were going to get the death penalty. I mean, we never had full scholarships.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean,
I
Coach
didn't know
Mack, when he
that.
took North Texas, Arkansas State, when I took Wyoming the week COVID shut the country down,
Yeah,
kept
man.
3 returning players. 2 years later, we're in the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
But things can change quickly. So that's where you have to be, you have to be able to adjust. But I think at the end of the day, it's just when you've done it that long like we have, and you've seen so many players who, okay, this is the reason why this guy who was not as talented made it. This is the reason why the guy who was really talented didn't make it. And knowing that, yes, you have to have a certain prerequisite of talent to be good at any level, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to put the best team on the floor. And I think that's where, Coach and I, that's where we're very similar in terms of, we're going to fight you every day.
Every day.
And that's what people don't realize, like how hard it is, like for 25, 26 years, is that, we're not going to look the other way.
No.
And now that doesn't mean we're going to just demean you and just, but at the same time, like
accountability
it's
factor.
accountability, which,
Yeah, man.
a lot of people don't have. They're just like, hey, just come and let's,
Nah,
and
can't
that's,
win like that.
you can't win. I mean, you're not going to beat Houston. You're not going to beat the teams in this league by just showing up. Like, you got to have a standard every day, and you have to hold them to that standard, and you can't look the other way. And that doesn't mean you just hold the guy that's the 13th man accountable.
Everybody.
You got to hold everybody. And that's where, I think for me, it's been good where coming as someone that's similar to Coach, where, I mean, you're not looking the other way, which there's probably times which probably it probably would have been better for me to look the other way. When Larry Brown's coaching Allen Iverson and you're at shoot around and Allen doesn't want to do anything, Larry Brown was smart enough just to turn his back to Allen Iverson.
Yep.
But that's hard to do. That's
doubt.
really hard to do.
No doubt.
And so I think I think the both of us can kind of play off of one another, where he doesn't have to be so-called the bad cop all the time. I can be the bad cop.
Yep.
And then when he can be the bad cop, I can be the good cop. And then you can kind of play off of that, because that gets tiresome.
No doubt.
I mean, it's
Like
exhausting. I mean, the season's exhausting as is, but when you're holding them accountable every day to every rep,
That's a lot.
and holding them accountable to the discipline and effort that's required every day, every possession, that's where winning lies.
doubt.
And so that's the separator in it all. But can you, over the course of it, it's not for everyone.
It's not.
I mean,
It's really
players
not, man.
and coaches.
No question.
It's not. But when you go back and look at the production that his players have had, the success of his teams, and said that when they look back on it, were some of these guys just like the guys I've had, and we've had guys, both of us have had really good players that have decided to transfer to other places, thinking
the
that,
same.
man, maybe it'll just be a little bit nicer if some guy's handing me a cupcake every day telling me how good I am. But then you know what happens? You don't win as much.
No doubt.
And then you're not ready when the time comes, when you want to go be a pro, and you're going to end up running up against somebody that has the same talent. So what's going to separate? How are you going to take that guy's job? Well, you're not just going to take it because of talent.
No.
It's that discipline, that's the effort. And nowadays, for me, I think the huge separator too is the concentration.
Man.
The ability with this generation that has the inability to focus for more than 15 seconds is that but it's a separator though.
No
It's
doubt.
those guys that understand that to be a pro, there's a precision that's required.
Man, surgical.
Yeah, I mean, it's pros. There's people don't realize what the definition. People need to look up what a professional is. Just
Not an NBA player, but what is a professional?
a professional. Like, when you're having surgery done, like you're getting heart surgery done. I mean, you want someone that's surgical. You want
doubt.
someone that's going to
No
be
doubt.
precise. You don't want to be somebody that's just, you know what?
I'm talented.
Yeah,
at
I'm
this.
talented. Let me just show up and see what
I ain't
happens.
gonna look at the chart first.
No, I mean, and so that's where, I think in the long run, like I said, those guys that have kind of maybe have made their way, looking back on it, and it's funny, those guys, they'll text you, they'll call you, and they'll be like, in the long run, they're like, man, coach, thank you. Because even though, at the time, maybe I didn't want to hear it every day, but
Needed it though.
but then they say they need it. But it's hard for them in the short term or in that moment to know that accountability and how much you actually care to coach them that way.
Yep.
Because that's what it is. It's ultimately is that they don't realize how much it takes out of you as the coach to really hold them to that standard every day.
And the crazy part is like you talk about it, like Mac has done a tremendous job of putting people together. This stuff is hard, and we spend so much time in our office around these guys. And I tell you, like, this job is really hard, but what makes it easier is the people I work with. Like, because it's a grind. Like, people are like, man, I want to do what you do. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. Like, it requires more than you feel like you can actually give it. So you need to be able to lean and rely on and trust people. And I've heard the horror stories of working in these offices, and it ain't like our office. Like, it can get real tricky in there amongst coaches, let alone your players. So the people you do this with, it is exhausting. Even when you're winning, and it's still exhausting because it requires so much. But, man, just the attention to people, and you need people that are reliable and people who aren't me people. You need we people to be able to win and to give yourself a chance to win. Screw winning. Just to give yourself an opportunity to do it. So I think that's outstanding. Want to go back to some of your Weber State days where you got a chance to spend a lot of time around one of the greatest players in the NBA. If not mistaken, he's one of the top 75 players in NBA history with Dame Lillard. Like, you got a chance to be around that one before anybody else kind of knew what it was. Talk about, like how he got to this point. Like, what was it about him? What was his separator over time?
Well, I mean, obviously, having known him since he was 16 years old, and a guy that was highly recruited out of high school, coming out of high school, the thing that people don't realize is, he graduated high school at 17, which is a huge separator.
No doubt.
Because you got these dudes now graduating high school at 20.
No question.
But, he's a guy that at 17 was 5'11", 6 foot, 150 pounds. But what people didn't see were, one, I mean, even though he was 6'6'1", he probably had a +5, +6 wingspan. And if you were to shake his hands, I mean, his hands, big hands. And so eventually you knew, based off of looking at mom, looking at dad, that, that he had room to grow.
Yep.
And he would be lying, anybody would be lying, that when he was 16 or 17, that he would become what he become. I remember going and watching after we got him signed, because we signed him in the early signing period going into his senior year. We were playing the University of San Francisco, and him growing up in Oakland right across the bridge, Coach Ray and I, the head coach at Weber State at the time, went and watched him play.
Yep.
And coming back from that, I remember Coach Ray and I, we were actually coming back on the BART.
Shout out to the BART.
BART. Chance's mom.
No doubt. Real public transportation.
Real public transportation. You never know what you're going to see or get on the BART. But coming back from that, I remember telling him, like, he should be the freshman of the year in the Big Sky, a chance to be a player of the year type of player in the Big Sky, and then probably being a really good overseas player. And,
which is still a heck of a career.
Yeah, people
No
don't
doubt.
realize, like, to be a real overseas player, how good you really have to be. And so that's where, but for credit to him, obviously you don't see, what's inside. Yeah. Now you hope that you can to a certain degree, but I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I knew, but I do knew that he had the ability to really shoot the ball. He could see the game a certain way. And at the end of the day, as my good friend Phil Beckner would say, shooting is the separator.
No doubt.
And then when you have the ability to shoot the ball like he does, not just off a spot up, but off a pull up, in the long run, eventually that's going to pay off. Yep. And so that's where he goes to Weber State, and he wasn't a made product from him. His freshman year, there was a lot of struggles. I mean, I remember those guys saying, "Hey, I mean, we're not sure if he's going to make it." Yeah. And
it's hard though for any freshman. Like, I don't care how good you are in this space. Like, you're going to hit a wall at some point as a freshman at any level of college basketball.
Yeah, and what they don't realize is it's not the offense that gets them on the floor. Now that helps, and if you can make a shot or you bring something to the table, but it's the defensive end of the floor that really determines how many minutes you're going to play as a freshman, because that's where the accountability of the effort, not just the single effort, but the multiple efforts required every possession, that allows you to actually say, the coach said, hey, this guy can help us win a game. Because then that's always asked people, is like, well, how many minutes are in the game? And they'll say 40. I'm like, no, there's 200. There's 200 minutes because you got 5 players times 4. Times 40 gets you 200. Well, what position are you? 1? Well, that means there's 40 minutes to be had. So that's you, this guy competing for those minutes. So how are you going to find a way to cut into those minutes or take those minutes? Well, yeah, if you can make a shot, it's great. But when we're playing against the better teams, when it's not just a BS game where you get out in transition against good teams, and you're not scoring in transition. Like you're playing against us last year. I mean, 1, we don't turn the ball over. We're going to make the majority of shots we take. So you're not playing in transition. You're against Houston. Against Houston, you're not playing in transition. It's like you get into the real games against the real teams, and when you got to sit down and find a way to execute in the half court offensively or defensively, well, then that's where your minutes are going to be found. And defensively, against the better teams that are going to require you to guard and put you into multiple actions that force multiple efforts, that's what separates guys. The guys that can sit there and guard one ball screen. Well, the good teams are going to get you into another ball screen, or they're going to get you into a third ball screen, and it's going to force you to play with that first, second, or third effort. And a lot of guys, they can't get past that. And then now it's like, okay, well, you want to play 40 minutes a game. Well, you don't know. Well, you don't know what's required.
No doubt.
The discipline, the effort, the concentration required to play in a game, for the most part in college, it's between 70 to 75 possessions defensively. Like that's how you play 36 minutes a game. Like that's what Christian Anderson had as a freshman, is that people sit there and they see his offense. But the thing about Christian, even with his size being what it was last year, being the smallest guy on the floor, is that the beauty of the separator for Christian is his ability to concentrate.
Elite concentration for a young guy.
Yeah, and he doesn't get tired.
No doubt.
He's not. Yeah, he's not. Yeah, and the good players, which I tell our guys, like, man, I don't know any good player. I've never coached a really good player that got out of shape.
No doubt.
Like good players, the really good players, like they're always in shape, because you know what, they can't, because they got the pride to know that when they wake up, like, hey man, for me to be the best, I mean, I have to, like, I got to go work.
No doubt. It's part of the preparation,
it's just,
like you said.
It's part of it. I mean, they're impeccable, which I heard this other day on the podcast, in terms of what makes like the world championship fighters. I was on the Bud Crawford Canelo kick, but like when you're talking about like the championship level teams of players, like they're impeccable in terms of their preparation. I mean, you can't cut corners.
Nah.
And that's like the thing about Christian, is that his conditioning and his ability to just sustain that effort, and then you add the concentration piece to it.
Yep.
That's
why he could do it.
That's why he could play 35 minutes
on a really good team.
It wasn't because the bonus was that he was really good offensively, but he wouldn't have been on the floor because the other team would have just said, no, we're going to go after him, or he just becomes the weak link and you get exposed. And so that's the, not sure where we really started on all of this, but that's.
You kind of led into that, like just what you look for in a player. And when I was scouting, biasly, I thought like, man, like I could tell anybody who was good enough. I get this job, just being around these dudes, I've learned so much. Like I tell Linder and Mac all the time, like they could literally be FBI profilers for people at this point, because they can tell me how tall a kid's probably gonna get. Like I used to look at feet all the time, and now it's like, yo, I need to shake your hand and see how big your hands are.
And to see how much hair they got on their legs and face.
Yeah, man. So it's like so many times you guys have been out, and because of the jobs you have, like you said, you had to win in the margins. Y'all had to be able to see something in a kid or value something in a prospect other people might overlook. So.
And I think going back to what you originally asked about Dame, what makes Dame, and just knowing what has happened for him as a professional and what it looks like for him, being so close to Phil Beckner, who's his trainer, and just knowing what the data is, going back to just his preparation's impeccable. Like his ability to just understand what's required every day, and just stacking days. It's not complicated. It's not hard. It's just, but it's really hard just to do the right thing every day. To check the box every day. To check the box of when Dame was at Weber State, in college, what do they do? On a Friday night, Saturday night.
Outside.
They want to go out. Well, he knew that his separator was that, I'm not going to go out. I'm going to go to bed at 10 o'clock, and then I'm going to be in the gym at 6 in the morning on that Saturday morning and that Sunday morning.
Working.
Knowing that that's what's going to be the separator. Knowing that he's not Kevin Durant. He's not LeBron. He's not a freak of freaks where he's the .001 in terms of just athleticism. Like, he knew that he had to win in the margin. So he knew he can't just go out and do what everybody else does. Well, then he's going to get what everybody else gets.
No doubt.
So he knew, how do I have to be different? And that's where just the preparation every day and just checking that box every single day. Because guys can do it for 1 day, 2 days, but maybe a week. But to do that over the course of years, well, then that's how a guy that was a no-star, goes to Weber State, ends up becoming the face of a franchise, ends up becoming a top 75 player all time, and a guy who now has more money than he'll ever know what to do with. But the money was never. The more money he got, the more he wanted to prove he was worth that money. It wasn't, hey, I got the money now, so let me just, you know what, I can take a day off. Like, he actually became even more hungrier when he got the money.
The habits were there before anybody knew who he was, and the money just made him obsessed with which is continuing the habits.
And the habits come from the people behind you. And that's what the thing about Dame Lillard is, that he came from great parents.
That matters, man.
His mom, Gina, who on his official visit, I had to go take her to the mall and go purse shopping and making sure she found a purse.
No,
and then his dad, Houston, who's just, really, but there was no BS. And then Raymond Young, his AAU coach with the Oakland Rebels, who's been doing it forever, who does it for the right reasons, to truly help kids. Mm-hmm. He had the right people around him. He didn't have. So then when the time came, because there was a time when he had such a good senior year where, you know, there was people behind the scenes trying to get him to, hey, you want to do that? But you know what? He was like, no, this is who I am. And when he became good at Weber State, and those same people came, hey, what do you think? What do you think? Like, you know, you can't get to the NBA from Weber State. The people behind him were like, and then for him too, knowing, because he's such a loyal dude, which in this day and age, I'm not sure if that exists anymore. Now, who's to say back in that day when, based off of what it is now, I mean, his loyalty would have been really truly tested. Back, everybody's loyalty is tested, but that at the time, he's such a loyal dude that, you know, he wasn't poisoned by the BS. Because at the end of the day, he wasn't that growing up. He wasn't being told how good he was. I mean, he was cut. I mean, he had to transfer schools with his 10th grade. He had to go from St. Joe's to Oakland High. Like, I mean, he's a guy.
He had been through adversity early already.
Yeah, and so matters, and that's. But the people behind him were telling him the right things. And when the process, the NBA process came, the only person he leaned on was Coach Ray. He's like, hey, when all those agents start coming into play, all the things, he was like, you know what? I'm not even listening to it. I'm going to direct them all to Coach Ray. I'll let him handle it. And when the time comes, but to have that maturity, which he didn't necessarily have when he was 16 or 17.
No doubt.
But over time, just developing that maturity, which now, like I said, it's always been a separator, but even more now, that maturity that you have, which created a lot of wisdom.
No doubt. All right, man, we got a fun story. So I've heard, first of all, who's the best NBA player of all time to you?
Well, I mean, there's no disputing that. I mean, that's Michael Jordan.
We can fight LeBron and Mike. We ain't got time today. But Linder's actually been around Mike a little bit. Tell us a little about your Michael Jordan story.
Well, yeah, it grows in lore, but so obviously growing up, you know, was a huge Michael Jordan fan during the heydays. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, so going into the summer of my 8th grade year, my brother and I, my younger brother, who was 2 years younger, Mom signed us up for the Michael Jordan Flight School, which was his basketball. This is Elmhurst College in Elmhurst, Illinois.
Man, way back in the day.
Way back in the day. This is probably 1991. Okay. I mean, this is when he actually still had hair.
Man,
I mean, it wasn't. He wasn't bald yet, and this is the day when he had the Bart Simpson Air Simpson shirts on. For people that know,
no doubt. That was a fire shirt, by the way.
Yeah, no, that was we all had Mars Blackman shirt.
No doubt.
So, long story short, go to his camp. Obviously, there's about 500 kids at the camp, and so each morning he would come in at 9:00 before the camp started, and we'd just do a quick clinic. And so his clinic was on shooting free throws with confidence and knowing that the free throw is just the same shot every time, regardless if you're shooting it with your eyes open, your eyes closed. And so basically the point of his deal is like, I'm going to shoot with my eyes open, but if I close my eyes, it's the same shot. And so obviously he shows it, and then he wants someone to come up. And so everybody in the camp's raising their hands to come up.
500 kids.
500 kids raising their hands, and lo and behold, he picks me.
Crazy.
So
all the people.
all the kids, so he picks me, and so I walk up there, and he's like, "Hey, what's your name?" I said, "Hey, Jeff." He's like, "All right." He goes, "Jeff," he goes, I want you to make one first with your eyes open, and then after that, we're gonna make one with your eyes closed."
How old were you?
So I was 12, 13,
Okay.
13 probably, and so I'm going up to the free throw line, and at this time, that's like God. Like,
Yeah,
I
Mike,
mean, at that
come
point
on,
in time,
man.
I lost
Come
any
on,
nerve I had in my body at that point. I mean, I turned into Alex Honnold at that point. I could have soloed free cap because I had no. I mean, there was not at any point in time in my career, was probably why I was such a good free throw shooter in college and high school late in games, is because I had that experience with Mike. And so I'm sitting there, and he's literally, I'm right-handed. He's in my left ear talking trash, because I had the Mars Blackman shirt on. The do you know?
Yep.
And so he's sitting there talking, don't miss
The whole time.
and I'm sitting here like, man, and I step up, make it with my eyes open.
Man,
First one, swish. So he's like, all right. He goes, now you make it with your eyes closed. I'm like, man, this is the first time I've ever done this. So I'm sitting there dribbling, doing my routine, and he's just talking trash in my ear.
Like real trash talking too.
I mean, the best there ever was. Him and Larry Bird.
No doubt.
And so I get up there, shoot it, in and out, which I was just like, man, please just do not airball this. And so it goes, so the camp's going, So now he goes, okay, if Jeff makes this next one, Gatorade for the whole camp. Which obviously for him, it means being sponsored by Gatorade.
No
so it's
doubt.
not like it's not money out
Real
of his
pressure
pocket,
for
but like
you,
now,
though.
so everybody's going crazy. He's talking trash in my ear. And lo and behold, I make it. Camp goes crazy, but that's not the gist of the story. Is so at this time, I'm a ball boy for the Denver Nuggets. So I was a ball boy for the Nuggets from basically 6th grade to 10th grade.
Nice. Okay.
So that next one, when Dikembe Mutombo, which might have been the next season, Dikembe Mutombo was a rookie and had a really good rookie season. Well, the Bulls, they only come to Denver once a year because they're in Western Conference, Eastern Conference. So at the end of that game, which you can go back and watch YouTube, at the end of that game, Mutombo, Jordan's at the foul line, Mutombo's on the left block. I'm under the basket as a ball boy, because as ball boys, you would have certain designations and roles during the games. Like some games you'd be, first half you'd be at this basket, second half you'd be at this basket, maybe you're doing this, doing that. So you had different roles as a ball boy, but for whatever reason, I was under that basket. And you can see, if you really look, you can kind of see me on some of them in terms of under the basket. But he looks at Mutombo and he goes, "Hey, this one's for you," and which it would have even been better if he looked at me and said, "This one's for you." But lo and behold, he closes his eyes.
That was the one
he closes his eyes and he makes the free throw. And so lo and behold, for me to have shot a free throw with him right there in my ear talking trash, and then lo and behold being under that basket
At
that moment, I mean, you can't make it make sense.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Man, Linder, we really enjoyed you, man. Very informative as always, brother. Got to have you back on the Find a Way podcast some kind of way. This is a good one.
I appreciate it, Buff.
We appreciate y'all, man.
Let's find a way every day.
No doubt.